Good evening. It is 6:30. Members of council are assembled when you're ready to begin.
Thank you, Don. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores for Monday, June 23rd, 2025. And welcome all members and everyone in the gallery this evening and everyone joining us via the live stream. We're glad everybody's with us. Second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, and the Deputy Mayor has that this evening.
Thank you. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Any member have one of those they'd like to declare at this time? Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. Fourth, additions, deletions, and amendments. So we don't have any of those, although I'm going to exercise my prerogative to introduce one item, and that is that we are honored this evening to recognize an exceptional leader and dedicated public servant, our CAO, Cara Van Mile. She is celebrating a significant milestone in her career in municipal government. She's been recognized by the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators through their Long Service Recognition Awards program, and this award celebrates Cara's dedication to public service and exemplary leadership in municipal administration. The award marks 10 years in management roles, and although it has been 10 years in management roles, Cara has actually served 26 years in the municipal sector. In 2014, she became the Manager of Corporate Policy and Economic Development at the County of Bruce, where she led strategic initiatives and helped shape the county's economic development direction. 2018, she was promoted to Director of Planning and Development, overseeing land use planning and economic development for the county and 8 local municipalities. And in 2020, we were fortunate to have Cara join us as our Chief Administrative Officer in the town of Saugeen Shores, and she's now in her 5th year as our CAO, leading Team Saugeen with over 110 full-time staff and managing a $50 million annual budget, guiding the delivery of essential services and major community initiatives. Cara's leadership has been instrumental in advancing our town's strategic goals, from waterfront redevelopment to the development of key community assets like Lamont Sports Park and the new Aquatics and Wellness Center. She is an incredible CAO, a visionary leader, and a tireless advocate for good governance and community development. So on behalf of the town of Saugeen Shores, and with deep appreciation from CAMA, it's my honor to present Cara with the 10-year long service recognition pin. How about a round of applause for Cara? Whoa. Okay, so now we'll move on to item 5, which is adoption of the minutes. And there's a resolution that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 9, 2025 as presented. Is there a mover and seconder? The Deputy Mayor and the Vice Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. All right, so we're on down to delegations now. We have 2 delegations this evening. Just remind our delegations that council's allotted 10 minutes for each of our delegations. And our first one is from the Southampton Business Improvement Area, and its president, Sarah Porter, and she's here to give us an update. So come on up, Sarah, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and town staff. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Southampton BIA this evening. I'd like to begin by introducing, not that slide, this one, Southie the Seagull, which you can see up on your screen, our new town mascot, and our local Love Construction shopping campaign. The Promotions and Events Committee of the Southampton BIA has launched this campaign to support our local businesses during construction. For every $25 that is spent before tax at a participating business, which is 98% of them, shoppers receive a ballot for a weekly draw. They will receive this ballot. One lucky customer wins a $100 voucher to spend at a high street business impacted by the construction. In total, $2,000 will go back into our local economy through this initiative. We're now in week 3 and are encouraged by the strong participation. We're tracking ballot numbers and will report our findings at the AGM on November 4th, and this data will help us determine if this campaign is worth continuing during future disruptions. Historically, businesses can see up to a 20% decline in sales during construction of this nature, some more than others. Our weekly draws take place during our construction watch parties at the town hall, where Southie the Seagull, by myself, makes special appearances. We also set up cornhole games for everyone to enjoy while showcasing the construction progress and encouraging people to shop, dine, and explore High Street. On July 3rd, and again in September, we'll be offering live caricatures from a local artist, and we have an open invitation for you to join us and get your own construction-style caricature drawn. Thanks to town support, we've also purchased bright blue SBIA buckets, which you will all be receiving to keep for yourself or give out to someone that you feel might enjoy them. Our slogan is Walk Store to Shore, and with our 2025 Y2K themed in our campaigns throughout the year, we are getting diggy with it, and we hope you'll enjoy these buckets. On behalf of the BIA, I do want to thank Vic and Marie from Burnside and Natasha from MacDonnell for working collaboratively with us, and following a recent meeting, they are now providing us with weekly construction updates. What's been completed, what's coming, and what to prepare for. These are high-level overviews, but they allow us to keep our businesses informed so that they know what to expect and aren't wondering without any information. We're working hard to keep morale up, even for businesses that are hurting. This is a project we've long supported and championed, but with that said, we do respectfully request that the Saugeen Shores HSR page be updated more regularly. The last update was May 9th, and right now members of the public are turning to businesses for updates, and we feel that that is something that should be coming directly from the town as opposed to our businesses. We also propose painting parking lines on nearby streets to make parking options clearer. Not only will this support shoppers during the 2-year construction window, but it may also help identify additional beach parking after the 2-year construction is completed. The SBIA has also met with Southampton Arts to determine a future gathering space as part of the HSR plan when we initially prepared it. When the town hall undergoes its updates in the coming years, we'd like the opportunity to submit a proposal for a gathering space in the area. This year, we've already purchased with what we hope will be the first installation for that future plaza, a 5-foot tall LED light sign spelling South. The sign's colors will change throughout the year to reflect local events, seasons, and community causes. We're deeply grateful to the town for your support and help funding this project, as well as the next one that I will speak of. And a special thanks to Amanda Monahan for her help with the Spruce to Bruce grant that filled the gap and her efforts on ordering the installations, and to Kendall Sawyer Johnson, our streetscape chair, and Lisa Mills, our coordinator, for their hard work on these projects. Our second art installation this year is a mural on the Bell Building at Albert and Lansdowne Street, created by SFN artists Emily Kuagshig and Taylor Cameron. And we hope that you'll join us for the ribbon cutting later this summer. Formal invitations will follow. Looking ahead to 2026, we've included in your package a proposal for a new Explore the Shores app. We believe a centralized branded app will elevate how locals and visitors explore Saugeen Shores, from trail maps and local events to retailing, dining, and cultural experiences. We've compared 2 platforms, Vicinity and Driftscape, and the latter being roughly 50% less expensive and currently used by Bruce County. However, we didn't have that at the time, so it's not in your program. Vicinity offers a level of customization and branding we believe is critical to showcase our town in a unique and immersive way. An Explore the Shores app would allow us to host interactive promotions and digital coupons, offer themed event trails, a business directory, digitalized community campaigns, and track engagement through a CRM and demonstrate the town and BIA's impact to our members. This is a significant ask, but we are presenting it now so we can begin discussions ahead of budget for both the BIA and the town. Thank you again for your continued support throughout the construction process, and I have included in the buckets you'll receive the rest of our events throughout the year, so you can come to Southampton and join us for all of the activities, including our watch parties and the Southampton Shindig, which will be back on the 9th of August with the foam party from last year. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. And just before I turn it over to members, so you made a budget request there, as well as a couple of other suggestions with regard to the construction project. So council will refer those this evening to our staff, and they'll come back to us with reports on those at appropriate times, or with respect to your suggestions with regard to construction, they may just take action on those things without coming back to us. But anyway, we'll refer all of that to staff. Questions or comments from members? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. And through you, Sarah's energy and enthusiasm is just infectious. So I'm so glad that you are heading up the Southampton BIA, and I know you just took on a role with the provincial organization too. I read that somewhere, so good for you. We're very lucky to have you showing some leadership in downtown Southampton. Well, in the BIA's, all of the businesses in Southampton. I did want to ask about, and I love how you call it the Bell Building. It makes it sound so big and cool. It's the blocky little building at the corner of Albert Street, the highway, and Lansdowne. Did they give you permission? I know putting something on the building is great, but did you get any permission to put a bench or anything to use the grassy space in front of there? Because, certainly art, sometimes you like to get close to it, and it is a grassy space. And I've always felt, I'm going to let you answer, but I've always felt that the gateways really to downtown were that intersection, Lansdowne and Albert, and at the other end, either Palmerston and Albert or Morpeth and Albert, or even all the way back to Adelaide now with all the other stuff that's on the highway. But so I think this is a good beginning to create something from that end of Southampton that says, hey, you're about to arrive somewhere. But did you get any, through you, Mr. Mayor, did you get any permission to do anything on the lawn that we could perhaps make sure a bench goes there or something?
At this point, we haven't. I don't believe it's actually something that we've asked for, so I'm happy to go back and make that request to see if they would be all right with us placing a bench. We will have extras, so I think it would be a great opportunity to put something there. The posters, the art specifically is being put on Coroplast type materials so that we can move it should we ever need to as well, so that the art belongs to the BIA and can move around town. So I'm happy to go back to Bell and ask if we'd be okay with placing a bench there.
Well, I just think that people will want to walk up close to it. My other comment is not really for you, but I appreciate your comment about and your request to have line painting on streets. I would really not want to see that happen without a great deal of consideration. We did paint some parking spaces along the highway. That was very good at encouraging people. It's on one side in one section, so maybe painting spaces on the other side along the highway would be great. Maybe we should wait till next year with the resurfacing. If we start painting parking spaces on a number of the adjacent side streets to High Street, there will be no parking spaces there. If we take into account the distances required from driveways, from fire hydrants, from intersections, on my own block, Palmerston Street, when you said that, I mentally went through, I think there would be one, possibly two parking spaces that would be legitimate on that street if we had to take into account all of the other things in the parking bylaw. So it's not just an easy thing to go in there. And I've mentioned a couple of times that, after we did the parking survey last year, I don't know why we went in and then painted parking spaces on Victoria from High Street across to Palmerston, because it took out a number of the spaces that were counted in the parking survey, again, because of the limitations with space to driveways and that sort of thing. So I understand what you're asking, but it certainly is not something to do just automatically on a lot of side streets adjacent to High Street, because there will be a lot less parking available. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from members? Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sarah, for your leadership and just to your board, to your members for being proactive, thinking of creative ways to reward people for coming downtown. And it takes a lot of patience and generosity on the part of business owners. And I really appreciate that. I actually have a question for staff. And I was just wondering this because when I was walking down the street the other day, down the stretch that where the construction's being done right now, for staff, when, and I apologize for not sending this in earlier, but maybe you know this, on the stretch of the sidewalk that we're walking on now, I'm sure that sidewalk will be at some point reconstructed. So how are customers going to get in? Well, there'll be sort of temporary entranceways into stores and businesses?
Director of Development Services can respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the detail this evening, but in general, the principle is that the on-site project manager is going to ensure that people can move through the town safely as pedestrians wherever they need to get to. Yeah. That's the general principle. I don't know specifically how they're going to achieve that at each phase. Yeah.
Okay, further questions or comments? I don't see any. Well, I just repeat what folks have said. Thank you for your leadership there. It's true. Some cool ideas there. You guys are, always thinking of much more exciting ways than I could ever come up with to bring people downtown. And there's no question, and council knows that it's a challenging time with the construction going on there. Our approach has been to try to get it done as quickly as possible. We understand that it's disruptive, and we want to be disruptive for the shortest possible period of time. So that's our mission, is to get in and get out quickly. But in the meantime, the business community in Southampton is lucky to have a BIA that's looking for every possible way to mitigate that disruption as much as possible. So, and we're lucky, council is lucky to have you working out there too, and also helping us with that messaging. And I get the pressure that businesses are under, because, it's really the front line and answering questions about the construction. And I think our staff, our communication staff and the development services team will do everything they can to back you guys up and make sure we get that messaging to the public, into the business community in every way we can. And certainly if the business community is hearing questions or concerns from the public, make sure to refer them to our development services team and directly to the town. I'm sure you guys have our information. Give that information, even my information, anybody, members of council, will make sure it gets to the right people. And like I say, we're here to back you up as best we can. So anyway, thanks again for your work, and thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. If anyone wants to dress up as a seagull, let me know.
Okay. Sounds like a dare almost. Okay, thank you. So now we're on to our next delegation, which is from the Port Elgin Curling Club, and they're here to talk to us about the Battle sponsorship. Dave, whenever you're ready.
All right. I want to start by saying my wife and I moved to this community in 2008. I've been the host of Pumpkin Fest for 30 years of my life, and I haven't got a 10-year pin yet. So I'm a little disappointed. No, that's okay. We'll talk later. I am here tonight representing the Port Elgin Curling Club and representing the committee. Now, I want it to be known and on record that if Doug Flowers ever offers you an evening of wine and food at his house, don't go. When you do, you become part of a committee that puts on the best events that the sporting world in Canada has ever seen. I want to introduce to you the folks who are here tonight as part of our delegation. Behind every good spouse is a man hiding. First of all, Jan McGarry, who will be the head of our event, and behind her significant other, Doug Flowers. Robin Woods, and behind her significant other, me. Barb Wilson, who is not here tonight, but her significant other, Maurice Wilson. We sucked this guy into becoming a part of this event as well, Lori Silcox and her significant other, Stu. And representing the Port Elgin Curling Club here tonight, our club president, Deb Strauss, and Cheryl Rayburn, who is the treasurer of the curling club. But remember, we don't just have one curling club in this area. We have two successful curling clubs. Here representing the Southampton Curling Club are John Conlon and Ian Bowers. So we represent about 350 curlers in this community. But remember that Canada features 2.3 million curlers. So we're here tonight to say to you, there's an opportunity for you to market Saugeen Shores to at least 2.3 million people next September. September 25th, 26th, and 27th, Saugeen Shores, we hope, is hosting the battle. But wait, there's more. Because it became such an important event that we had to change the name. And as you can see on the logo, it's Bruce Power, the battle. Bruce Power has already seen the importance of the marketing opportunity that this provides to them. As I mentioned, we have a history of success. The Ontario Tankard and Scotty's Tournament of Hearts in 2022 and 2023. I'm sure more than a few of you either volunteered or were a part of that event, and considered by curlers to be the most successful Ontario championship ever. But then we went to Doug's house for drinks and food. The next event became the Senior Men's Golf Championship at Saugeen in 2024. Every golfer said, best event ever held. So we went back to Doug's house and developed the Bruce Power Battle. The two best teams for curling in Canada have already committed for this. Rachel Homan and Brad Jacobs head to head. We wanted to keep it Canadian. We didn't want to give money to other teams that weren't Canadian. And we were lucky enough, these two teams jumped on board very quickly. It should be recognized that in our area, we mentioned the two curling clubs represent 350 curlers. But in this 250 kilometer radius, we have the most concentrated number of curling clubs in this province. And we get support from them at these kind of events. Your opportunity is to be the host building. We need the Plex. We want the Plex. Best place to host it and best place to broadcast from, because all of our television cameras can be on one side of the building looking at 1,000 people sitting there. So what would you get as one of the title sponsors, one of the major sponsors of this event? Well, we've broken it down for you in 4 different areas. First of all, your return on investment. As I mentioned, 2.3 million Canadians are curlers. The last battle that occurred was done in Toronto. To this moment, there's over 300,000 views of that event online. But they did a one-day event. We're doing 3. So on the Friday, during the day, will be an adult curling camp. Maurice is one of the level 3 instructors across Canada, and he will be hosting that. You could come and learn from Team Homan, Team Jacobs, and some of the best curlers that Canada has to offer, some of the top teachers. They will be here for adult curling camp during the day on Friday. Friday evening, it'll be doubles curling. 2 people from Rachel Homan, 2 people from Brad Jacobs playing doubles on 2 different sheets. So all 4 curlers will be involved, all of it broadcast. Saturday during the day, adult curling camp again. And in the evening, the 2 teams playing skins. And then on day 3 in the morning, a competition between those attending the curling camp and the curling teams, the professional teams, leading into the final day of curling on Sunday afternoon, head to head, men versus women. As I mentioned, we already have 300,000 views of a much more simplified version of the event that we're planning to do. So you start adding up the numbers of who we're going to be talking to. The current people who are tax people in our area, and those looking to retire to the best place they can possibly retire. So you'll have a sponsored tag on all of the regional radio station advertisements on all 5 of the Bayshore Broadcasting radio stations. You would have a logo included on the Port Elgin Curling Club website. You'd be referenced on all of our social media posts. You'd have full event passes for all of you to attend the event. You'd have VIP passes where you meet the players and you come to all of the special things that the campers will also be enjoying. We'll have the town logo in ice so that on every single broadcast, it's seen as they go up the ice and it's seen as they come back down the ice. You'd have a private ringside suite, an opportunity to get a little closer to the action, a banner in the lounge, reference and announcements during the game by some guy, and logo on printed materials, including the official posters, which we've now found out will be distributed by Curling Canada, and logos on the camper apparel. All of the campers, 80 of them who are attending the adult curling camp, are going to receive apparel, and you will be included in the apparel. We estimate just that part of the package alone, with the number of people who will see the broadcast at $30,000. The rest of it is free. In return, we have the economic impact that it'll have, and we have done an economic summary, which you can see on your 3rd page, equaling well over $900,000 of impact financially to this community. Area curling clubs, we need some help. There are some smaller clubs that don't have as big a membership. We're giving them an opportunity to become a part of this for some fundraising, for chillers, for cooling systems, for all sorts of things that they need to keep their facilities current. And of course, charities. So the host committee has worked into this plan a donation of $10,000 to charities. The teams will be able to make those donations to charities, plus 10% of event profits will be going to charity as well. So it's pretty simple. Port Elgin Chrysler, they're talking about joining us. Bruce Power has already joined us. Holiday Inn has already signed. Sun Life and Middleton Finner Financial has already signed. The big ones are coming on board. We just need a place to host this event, and we hope that place is the Plex. And we're looking for your support to have that facility for 1 week to show Canada the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you, as just before we go to questions or comments, the same comment as to the last delegation, you made a request to council, so we're going to refer that to our staff this evening, and then they'll come back to us with a report.
That's why we brought more people than there are of you. If this is a fight, we'll win.
Okay. Well, I don't think we'll come to that. I hope it won't come to that. But it will come to some questions and comments, and we'll go to that now. And we'll start with the deputy mayor and then Councillor Grace.
Thank you. And through you, 2 questions. The first one's just very superficial, but does this Saugeen Shores Town Council suite come with bar service and a chef? Just wondering.
It's available.
Okay. The real question though is you mentioned about adult camps and that sort of thing. Are you able to work in anything with young people?
That's where the charity side of it came from. We wanted to make sure we were supporting the kids somehow, and we're hoping to be able to access that with the charity donations.
That's good, because that's the future of curling here, is to get some young people inspired.
The future
even
of
if
curling and the future of the community.
That's right. Even if it just gets them out to watch. And you do know that the other part of the facility will be finished by then too. So
wouldn't it be neat to be able to put that on the ad that is seen on the broadcast from people all across Canada and the world? They might like to know that we have all the facilities available for retirees and otherwise.
I just fed them that. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay, I got Councillor Grace, then Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Dave. It's amazing to me, your curling clubs put on these great initiatives in the last couple of years, and you're not content to rest on the successes of that. You're striving for something else.
I think most of us are content to rest. It's Doug.
Okay, well, you're supporting him, and it's wonderful. I think it sounds like a really exciting weekend. I guess just a couple of questions that I'm sure staff will be considering as you're going to come back to us with a report on this, but how much would this cost us in terms of revenue for use of the facility during that time? And how would it impact our ongoing programs? Those are questions I'd be asking and considering, but I'm sure you guys will as well. And thanks very much for your presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Councillor Dubinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Thank you, Dave, for that excellent presentation. You should become an announcer or something. In any event, the one question I wanted to ask was, I know a lot of curlers continue to take part in curling with the extensions.
Stick curling.
Yes. Is that going to be part and parcel of the week that you would show people how to do that?
So it is part and parcel potentially of the adult curling camp, because it depends on those that sign up and want to come to attend the curling camp. So it's kind of more of a question for Maurice than anybody, but that is planned to be a part of the curling camp. We haven't fully set up how the doubles curling or the skins curling or the head-to-head curling for the professional teams is going to go. We kind of want them to be a part of that. So we are going to be talking to them about maybe little things we could work into it. And maybe one of those things could be the other team hits a buzzer, and now the team that's throwing has to stick curl. Why not? Be an excellent way to showcase stick curling. And this, after all, is meant to be an entertaining event as much as it's meant to be competitive curling. The curlers will make it automatically competitive. They're the best curlers in the world, but there's nothing that says we, with their input, can't have some extra stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess just one piece of advice, you may want to be more excited about this. Actually, excellent presentation. And I look forward to this. Thank you.
All right, so we have one volunteer.
All right, very good. We'll go to the Vice Deputy Mayor and then Councillor
Thank you,
Mayan.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Dave, and your enthusiasm is contagious. And to the Flowers and the Middletons and all the rest involved, it's really amazing the events that have taken place here the last few years. And Doug, I know you and others have put so much work into those events, and here's another one, another great opportunity for Saugeen Shore. So I sure hope we're able to help in some way. I would like to ask, of our Director of Community Services, and I'm sure you will have it in the staff report, Shrides, Kristen, is that, is this $10,000 worth of ice time? Is it $15,000 worth of ice time? It's probably 60, 70, 80 hours of lost ice time. Lost in a sense for revenue for the building, but gained in a lot of other ways, granted, no question about that. But I'd like to know what that number would be. And secondly, Shrides, maybe you can answer me this question. The Coliseum ice, these dates run from September 21st. I've got my calendar up here, yeah. September 21st to the 27th. Is the Coliseum ice typically in at that point in time, or could it be put in a week earlier, potentially? That's just a first question I had, whether you can answer that tonight or not.
Perfect. And thank you for the question. And through you, Mr. Mayor, we've had those internal conversations about exploring the option to install the Coliseum ice a week or so early to be able to accommodate the booking. So the booking is in our booking system right now as well. So we'll just bring the report back to council with all the additional information.
And that's good to hear. It's obviously startup time for minor hockey and figure skating, other groups, and so it'd be nice to know that if we could, start up the Coliseum a week earlier potentially to help the cause, the case. that would be good. But I think this is just fantastic and truly remarkable event. And one more for Saugeen Shores. And I've been at past events and just continue to be amazed at how well they are received by people around the province, across Canada. So, and what an amazing mark for Saugeen Shores, great promotion. So let's hope we can do something, that's for sure.
Very good. Councillor Mayan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through it's very inspiring. In fact, I'm almost inspired to take up curling again myself. It's been a long time, but we'll see.
Here.
Yeah, I might just come and see you on that. Now, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier this month. Obviously, the battle is like a reminiscent of the Battle of the Sexes, and I'm old enough to remember the Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King Battle of the Sexes. When they did that tennis match, they had to adjust the rules a little bit to offset the obvious advantage that the male player has over the female player. But in curling, can you explain for the people listening, for us, that this is actually going to be an even playing field, and like you're not going to have to rig it one way or the other to have men playing against women? It seems like one of those sports where it can actually work, right?
Yeah, I think that's why we're asking for the input from the teams. We want them to be comfortable when they come here to play this event, understanding that there's a very important aspect to it, which is entertainment. So our plans are to have the players mic'd so that the fans can hear them and hear what they're talking about. Strategy is strategy, pretty much in any game. The men perhaps would have a bit of an advantage because they're bigger and stronger when it comes to sweeping, although there's some changes coming, I understand, to rules on brooms and the foam that's used in the brooms that may equalize that a little bit. But then our influence on, again, maybe hitting a button and something changes to where they can make the other team do something can certainly offer that opportunity. Yeah, we've talked about many different things. I don't want to let too much out of the bag, but the teams do understand that this is as much entertainment, but it's also about growth of the sport. So growth of the sport locally, although, we've had very good growth with the increased number of people that live in our community now, but growth in the sport provincially and throughout Canada, and ultimately the broadcast. I mean, we've had interest already from CBC, from the curling group. It's going to be housed on YouTube for a long period of time. This could live as long as Ed Wernick versus Marilyn Bodo, the famous Canadian battle that happened in Toronto. And by the way, we actually have contact with Ed Wernick and Marilyn Bodo, and our plan is to have them attend the event. Mine's wireless. I can give it to her. Wow. While I'm sure that she appreciates your encouragement, I don't think she needs it. No. No, yes. So they're both, of course, going to be competing to try and represent us at the Olympics. It might be pretty interesting to have the two Olympic champions here. Thank you.
We'll call the meeting back to order, and we will move on to item 9, report of municipal officers. And the first one is on the 9.1 is on the 2025 Spring Business Camp, and the CAO has a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today, I'm really happy to share the highlights and outcomes of the 2025 Spring Business Camp. This is an event that continues to shape the work we do and the community we serve here at the town of Saugeen Shores. This year marked our second annual Spring Business Camp, which is a dedicated time for staff from across all departments to come together, reflect on our processes, and collaborate on ways to make work better. This year, we had over 50 of our Team Saugeen staff members participate. At the camp, our frontline staff brought forward practical insights and innovative solutions that are already making a difference. Making work better for you, by you, has become the shared call to action. It's a powerful reminder that the best ideas come from those that work closest to the work. I want to take a moment to highlight our celebration of wins. Across the departments, we saw inspiring examples of time-saving, service-enhancing, and efficiency-boosting initiatives. We had Rob from Fire Service that streamlined the NFPA certification training for 70 firefighters, saving time and standardizing learning. Kathy in our finance division introduced a new credit card posting process, saving 110 hours annually. Lucas in our engineering division introduced Permit Central, saving over 250 hours by simplifying road consent applications. Morgan in our clerks division reduced agenda approval time from nearly 4 hours to just over 1 hour per meeting across the 33 meetings we do a year. Everyone there that day shared their win, and I couldn't be more proud of the impact our team is making. We also embraced a number of just do it's, quick staff-led fixes that don't require a full project plan, from updating electronic fund transfer forms to implementing Outlook rules and task management tools. These improvements are proof that everyone has the power to make things better. But we didn't stop at celebrating there. We also tackled some of our biggest challenges here at the town of Saugeen Shores. Staff identified 5 key organizational areas of improvement: file management, work visibility, managing unpredictable work, standardization, and process mapping. We also spent some time taking a look at the feedback from the 2024 WorkWell survey, which is our annual employee well-being survey. And we focused on 3 areas in 25 where we could make an impact around workload management, training opportunities, and clear roles and expectations. Together, we also highlighted and took a look at what we call towers of knowledge, critical roles held in single positions at the town that pose risk for business continuity. By cross-training and documenting procedures in 26 and 27, we're planning to build resiliency into our operations. And finally, staff shared some amazing facts that reflect the heart, hustle, and hard work of our team. Did you know that we had over 58,000 visitors come to the Centennial Pool? Our parks group collected 269,000 pounds of trash. We had 2,000 plus hours of ice time booked at the Plex, 101 positions filled by human resources, and over 50 social media requests processed in Q1 alone, a lot of those having to do with the weather we experienced in the winter. The 2025 Spring Business Camp reaffirmed that empowered staff are the foundation of municipal operations. The insights and innovations shared will directly inform our 2026 plan that we'll bring forward to Council. Together, we're building a stronger, more connected Team Saugeen and a brighter future for the town of Saugeen Shores. And I want to conclude with a thank you to Council for supporting our staff culture we're building here at the town. The results of initiatives like this are evidence of your leadership. By providing staff development, the town creates an environment that is adaptable and proactive. Through this work, staff-led innovations are streamlining services and boosting productivity, strengthening resilience, and ensuring business continuity. It is fostering accountability and ongoing improvements that builds public trust and workforce confidence. The Spring Business Camp illustrates the culture we're building at Saugeen Shores and exemplifies how a strong council governance contributes to creating a resilient and productive, progressive workplace. I'm happy to take any questions on the report before council tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. So there is a recommendation that council receive the 2025 Spring Business Camp Summary Report for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councilor Gray, second by Councilor Davinsky. Questions or comments from members? Councilor Halpin and then Davinsky.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Congratulations on this. I fully believe that consulting involving staff and staff feedback is highly effective. And a good result of that is the money that you save and it builds morale. So well done. This money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just one question, and I'm sorry I didn't get it to you ahead of time. If we are doing it better, and it appears we are behind the scenes, does that mean there's a possibility that we'll be able to ease off on hiring for 2026? That may be an unfair question, but I throw it out there.
Oh, the CAO is good at every type of question, so we'll give her a try. The CAO.
Thank you for the question. What the thinking and logic that's behind the drive behind this is a concept called lean. And a lot of us have done training and development on lean. And one of the things that we fundamentally start off by saying is when we implement lean, it's not about efficiency that causes people to lose jobs or that risks the creation of new positions. What it does is it streamlines what I will call the busy work, and it creates opportunities for our staff to grow and develop the work that really requires that thinking. So examples like you saw tonight with Kathy improving the credit card process was getting rid of a lot of the busy work of downloading the credit cards, getting them circulated to everything. That lets her, frees her up in order to work on more important work like how we're going to do the business plan or the budgeting next year. So it really, so is it an unfair question? It's a tough question to answer, but I'll say that we do ground ourselves in that it doesn't impact the staffing complement, but allows us and frees us up to have people working on higher order work instead of the busy work.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you for the report. The did you know page that is there, I think that's something that should be shared with the public. Perhaps even a web page on our website saying, did you know? And just every once in a while we update it. I feel people react to these types of numbers and accomplishments. It's an easy read and it certainly tells our story, but I'll leave that with staff. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? I asked earlier today for staff to put that together, particularly that type of information. It was also, a lot of it was cited in the recent level of services report as well, and to put it together in something, synthesize it for me so that I could carry it around and speak about it and have it at hand. And maybe staff should share that with all of you as well, because it's the kind of information that you can share with a constituent when they say, well, what is it that the town does? And you hear that a lot as a member of council. I mean, you can offer that, it's like I was talking about however many kilometers of sidewalk we maintain and how many, whatever it is, 80 facilities we maintain, all that. People don't really know what all of the things that the municipality is doing. And it's why would they know? Who's paying attention to things like that? We are, that's our job. But it's worthwhile information to have. So I think it's a good idea, as Councillor Tavinsky. And yeah, I appreciate the report and the fact that you do these business camps. I think it's a good thing to do, and it really highlights all that work that our staff are doing every day that we don't, you need to bring that to the surface routinely so that we can celebrate all that work, because it's the work that keeps things going, keeps the bills paid and the trains running on time. And so we appreciate all that work, and we want to hear from staff about what we can do at our level to make their lives easier at every level in the organization. So anyway, good report. Thanks for it. And you've heard the recommendation. I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. So 9.2 is the 2026 business plan and budget update, and the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report outlines the steps involved in developing the 26 business plan, along with the implications of recently announced strong mayor powers. In previous years, we had 2 full-day budget meetings that were held in November, where staff presented a draft business plan. Council then provided direction for changes, and staff returned with a proposed budget at the first meeting in December. The budget and associated tax bylaws were then approved at the first meeting in January. While these key dates can still be followed closely in 25 as we develop the 26 business plan, adjustments in methodology will be necessary due to the strong mayor powers. With strong mayor powers, the municipal budget is now the mayor's responsibility. It's no longer council's. The mayor can direct staff, however, to prepare the proposed budget and the mayor cannot delegate that duty. After submission, council then may make resolutions to amend the mayor's proposed budget. The mayor does have the ability to veto any amendments, and if that happens, council could override that veto with a 2/3 supermajority. Despite all that, council is still responsible for passing tax ratios, fees, and levy bylaws, and the budget is deemed adopted after completion. Mayor Charbonneau is providing direction tonight to direct staff to prepare the budget. And for this year, the proposed planning timeline is 1-day business plan presentations scheduled for November 12th and for November 26th. So consistent with the timing that we saw last year. At the end of the second meeting on November 26th, Council will then conclude with passing amendments by resolution for any changes that they would like to see to that draft budget and business plan. The amended budget would be brought forward at the December 8th council meeting. And the other important date to remember is that 30 days after receiving materials, which would be received at the November 12th meeting, the budget will be deemed adopted on December 12th of 2025. Similar to last year, the tax ratios, fees, and levy bylaws will be brought forward to council for the first meeting, which happens to be on January the 12th of 2026. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So there is a resolution that council received the 2026 business plan and budget report for information. Questions or comments from the members, the deputy mayor?
Thank you, and through you. I'm glad at the end you referenced the December the 12th date, because that wasn't making sense to me how a meeting would be December the 8th and then 4 days later it was deemed passed. But and relating it back to November the 12th, I see that 30-day chunk there. But if amendments are made in that 30-day period, does that not push the date, the 30 days further? Or is it like, because it would seem to me that the budget would be different perhaps than it would have been November the 12th. It's all just, there's nothing in there that would push something forward if amendments are made.
The director.
Thank you to the deputy mayor, or to the deputy mayor for that question. The 30 days is the time that council has to pass amendments, and within that window. And at the end of that 30-day period, it is deemed approved. It's not, it's a different twist that the province has introduced with the strong mayors. And similar to, as was presented by our clerk in a prior meeting on other resolutions happening here at council, things are deemed approved 2 days after a council meeting. So it's not necessarily tied to the dates that we normally think when the activity's happening. It's after a certain calendar window.
I really appreciate that the flow charts that hopefully will continue to show up to help us understand how things fit together. It's confusing, there's a veto and then a super veto and, this time period, that time period. So I appreciate the timeline being there. I did want to ask though, it's my understanding that staff have already, or they will after tonight, start, putting together budget things and have conversation. I think it's unfortunate that we don't have that same sort of free-for-all gathering kind of opportunity between council members to banter about, some of the things that we care about, so that we would have a sense of other areas or other members of council that have very similar passions or interests or desires or wants for the community. So and I'm trying to understand how, and I appreciate what the mayor is doing to delegate authority, but of course the legislation is saying something too. So if we have specific requests, and I know many of us have had conversations with the CAO recently, mine was today, I was late, sorry about that, but have had conversations with the CAO about some things that, we were thinking about and what's been going on and what we hope will go on in the future. But if we have specific requests, are we making those to you, Mr. Mayor? Are we making them to the CAO? Like how, because I don't want to have us kind of wait till these meetings at the end in November to, understand that, I'll use Councillor Halpin as an example. If Councillor Halpin, let's, plant another 100,000 trees. I'd get behind that, and maybe a couple of other members would too, but how can we get I'm sure you would, right, Bud? How would we get those kinds of requests in? Who should we send those to? That's my question.
So maybe I'll speak to it and then the CAO can, but so what we have tried to do here is to preserve the process as much as it was within the context of what we have to do now. So what I'm going to do after you guys have had a look at this draft direction tonight, assuming there aren't concerns with it, I'll sign it this evening. The direction will then be given to staff to basically proceed with the process. It's essentially the same as it's always been, right? It's that instead of them starting a budget process on their own initiative, I'm directing them to do it. But they're then going to engage with all of you. They've already been doing that to an extent. The CAO has, in the same way as always, and they're going to build the budget the same way they've always built it. So what I guess what I would say is from my perspective, you do exactly what you've always done. Meet with the CAO or the Director of Corporate Services and say, this is something I'm interested in seeing done, or me and a couple of other members are interested in seeing added to the budget, and have those discussions with the administration in the same way as always. And they will handle that in the same way they always have. Some of them will get incorporated if it fits with the administration's outlook. If it doesn't, it'll get added as a set of council requests, which will likely come forward outside of the budget, but as part of the package that's presented to council. And then council will look at them and those two meeting dates will happen the same way they always happen. We'll go through department by department. And then at the end, based on the conversation we've had and the list of other council requests, at the very end, we'll do a series of motions, resolutions, except in this case, now you'll be actually amending the budget when you pass those, you'll be amending the final document when you're passing those resolutions. So the only real difference in the process is that second day, we'll take a series of votes, and then presuming there's no further amendments at another meeting, actually in this, it's not so bad in one respect in that you will actually have more meetings at which to amend the budget than you've ever had before, because between the introduction on, was it the 12th of November and 30 days later, there are 4 council meetings, 2 specific budget meetings and 2 regular council meetings, at any of which you could introduce a budget amendment if you wanted to, right? So you can basically introduce a budget amendment at any meeting at any time in that 30 days. So there's going to be a fair bit of opportunity to introduce amendments, and then it'll just automatically become the budget on the 12th of November. So I guess all of that to say the process is essentially the same up to that final moment. And so you should act and treat it exactly the same as you always have and introduce your ideas in the same way you always have. I don't know, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, the Deputy Mayor?
I just think you meant at the end, December the 12th, not November the 12th.
Yeah. Apologies, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. You're understanding the flow charts very well.
Well, I helped, in fairness. The councillor helping.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I look forward to the budget process every year, and it gets a little bit easier every year. But I also just want to mention, I welcome the mayor's commitment to collaborative and council-led governance, and I do appreciate that. Thank you for taking that stand.
Also, I will note that I will not be vetoing any amendments to the budget. Are there further? Are there any further questions or comments on this? Seeing none, we heard the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? It hasn't been moved and seconded, so that's a problem. We need a mover and seconder. Councillor Stack, Councillor Grace, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to 9.3, which is an update to the AWC Operations and Management Plan and proposed fees and the Manager of Recreation.
Okay. We on? Yes? All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And once again, I have the opportunity to be here tonight to talk to council about the very exciting Aquatic and Wellness Center. Tonight, I'm here to provide an update on the operational planning for the Aquatic and Wellness Center and formalize the recommended plan along with the proposed fees to bring the vision of the state-of-the-art facility to life. Just over 3 years ago, this council made one of the biggest decisions in Saugeen Shore's recreation history, investing almost $50 million in the Aquatic and Wellness Center. Shortly after, you took another leap of faith, making the decision that the municipality would manage and operate the facility and directing the administration to develop the plan to help get us there. Well, that certainly lit a fire. Since March 2023, we have made a lot of progress. We broke ground in fall 2023. You approved the staffing and activation plans. You approved the debt financing plan. We moved out of the municipal office and into Rotary Hall in the NII to complete phase 1 of the project. We launched a $3 million fundraising campaign. We held community engagement events in the summer of 2024 and more recently this past spring. We started hiring for the Aquatic and Wellness Center, and we've been hitting construction milestones and staying on time and on budget thanks to our amazing project team. That team includes Ball Construction, Salter Pilon Architects, Unity Design, and our own internal team of Steve Hardy, Kristen Schreider, Darren Hill, Jim Boonshu, and myself. A new pool and a multi-use recreation facility has been a dream in Saugeen Shores for over 20 years. I want to thank the leadership of past councils, staff, and the community that has helped get us here today. Some of you have been part of this journey for a long time, and thank you for sticking with it. One thing that has stayed the same over those 20 or so years is the strong support to build a place where people of all ages and abilities can gather and enjoy sport, recreation, fitness, and fun. And we're creating just that. Tonight's recommendations will bring the AWC into operational reality. I am proud of the work our team has done to bring this plan together and would like to thank them for their work. Corby Leach, Jesse Bedard, Cody Hewlett Mowbray, and Michael Hunt, who are both here tonight. Thank you so much for your efforts behind the scenes to build this plan. The plan will guide us through the opening and beyond. Approving the fees is the next step towards opening, leading to the launch of the membership drive and answering the question that we've all been hearing and many have been asking: how much is it going to cost? The recommended plan outlines key areas like operational objectives, shutdown periods, the participation structure, facility allocation, programming principles, and affordable recreation programs. The report itself provides a summary of the updates from the draft plan to the recommended plan that is included for council this evening. Page numbers are included throughout the report to identify where that updated information can be located within the plan. Feedback heard from both council and the public has been integrated into the recommended plan, ensuring our approach continues to align with the needs and expectations of the community. We met with the Saugeen Recreation Director and toured the James Mason Center this past spring. It was an opportunity to learn about the diverse programming, rentals, and opportunities at the James Mason Center and envision potential future opportunities. We gained awareness of the various programs available and how they could support access to the AWC. We look forward to continuing these conversations and exploring what opportunities could look like together. We've also reached out to Bright Shores to learn more about the cardiac rehabilitation program and will continue to explore opportunities. Access to the AWC was identified as important to healthcare providers in general to support their clients and have access to the space. The recommended plan outlines healthcare provider access on page 10. This plan is also accompanied by supporting documentation that details our community engagement efforts, key performance indicators, financial forecasts, programming intent, and risk analysis. This is the background information that contributed to the recommended plan. There were several considerations that went into the development of the proposed fees and charges, including our Aquatic and Wellness Center revenue projections, reviewing similar municipal operations, looking at municipal delivery of aquatic programming and delivery of recreation and wellness programming, other service providers, overall affordability, creating a place for the community and their families to participate together, community benefit, including the overall benefit of having healthy, active residents and visitors in our community, and overall community access. The AWC Active Pass program is designed as a build your own adventure type model. This program identifies the 7 different ways folks can access the facility. The chart included on page 4 of the report illustrates some examples of the membership options and how the benefits or discounts could apply to the base rate for the various patron groups to participate. The intent of the membership pricing is to create flexibility and options for patrons, including families and the many situations, scenarios, and family makeups that exist today. Although a specific family membership rate is not defined, the proposed fees are designed so families can build the membership plan that works best for their needs and financial circumstances. The flexibility to mix and match pass types and enrollment options helps keep discounts and payment options equitable for families and across the other patron groups. This model creates an opportunity to optimize revenue while creating affordability for families. A couple examples to identify the flexibility of the costing within the fees and charges. One example, we could have 2 adults and 2 children participating at the facility through the All Access Pass, which would be around $77 biweekly. Another option would be 1 adult participating in wellness-only activities, another adult participating only on the aquatic side, and 2 children in the All Access, which would be around $69 biweekly. The third option is 1 adult, 1 child, and 1 youth or student All Access, which runs around $53 biweekly. And I share these examples just to sort of show the range of access that folks will have and how they can kind of customize their membership options and their participation based on what their family is most interested in and how it works within their family. The proposed fees and the Active Pass program are also designed to operationally support how our current recreation software and the access gate at the facility will interact to manage access and memberships. The recommended plan, along with the proposed fees and charges bylaw, and the information contained in the supporting documentation all work together to support the ongoing AWC operations. We know how important this facility and its operation is to our community and to council. To ensure council is well informed on how the operation and management is going, we have created a schedule of regular updates to ensure we are reporting back and making work visible both for council and the community. A comprehensive report is anticipated in Q2 of 2027 that details actual operations compared to the plan and identifies any changes that may be needed. I want to again thank this council for your leadership in advancing the Aquatic and Wellness Center project and am excited for the impact that this legacy project will have on the health and well-being of our community. Tonight, we're asking for council's approval of the operations and management plan and the amendment to the fees and charges bylaw to provide the continued direction needed for opening and ongoing operational planning. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. So there is a resolution. The council approved the Aquatics and Wellness Center Operations and Management Plan, and the council approved bylaw 65-2025, a bylaw to amend bylaw 96-2024 to authorize the proposed fees and charges related to the Saugeen Shores Aquatic and Wellness Center. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Myatt. Questions or comments to the deputy mayor?
Sorry, I wasn't too sure when to ask, but can we separate those 2 items? To have the plan with 1 vote and the potential for the bylaw to be a separate vote? I maybe should have asked.
If you like, we can consider them individually. They're moved and seconded both, so I'll just consider them. I'll take votes on them one at a time if you like.
Okay, thank
The
you.
deputy mayor.
I have a number of questions. I'll ask a couple and then maybe swing back around to me if the other ones don't get picked up by other people. I don't, thank you for the report, Lisa. I did ask who made the report, and you did, and I think it's a beautiful presentation, so thank you very much for that. Also, a number of us today were able to take a walk through the facility with Steve Hardy, and it's always good to have Councillor helping along who, knows a lot more about construction than I will ever know, and pointed out a number of things that was good to know. But the building is really coming along, and it was good to see for those of us that went on the tour today. I didn't see in the report, though, concerning fees, a real reflection of resident versus non-resident. And that's a little concerning to me, and I think an opportunity. Residents, whether they be tax-paying residents or residents who maybe their taxes, or they're paying taxes via the rent payments that they make to a property owner, they're stakeholders big time in this building because the legacy fund is from our taxpayers. So I thought we might have seen something that provided a slight incentive there that let them know that their contributions via their taxes were valued and that we're taking that into account. I know that in one of the opportunities for a discount, there's something very specific there about you must be a Saugeen Shores resident, but I just think there's an opportunity there to show the people of our community who are paying for the building over the next 20, 30, 40 years, that, we know you're paying for the building. And so I don't know if you have an answer to that right now. I just didn't see anything in there where there was a real consideration given to some kind of a distinction between resident and non-resident fees. That's one question that I have. I don't know if you want to respond. I didn't ask you in advance. I apologize.
The manager?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your question. You are correct. We did not differentiate a resident versus non-resident fee within the design of the Aquatic and Wellness Center proposed fees. Based on our experience, we do know that there are some folks that travel regionally to access our facility from other municipalities that are nearby, but most of the participants at our that are using our current facilities are residents of Saugeen Shores based on the information we have in our recreation database.
Okay, but that still doesn't provide, I think, a bonus of some kind, because taxpayers, they're contributing through their taxes via the legacy fund for the next number of decades. Anyway, I also was really interested in all the stuff that I think you, and I'm in this category myself now, active agers or something is the category for seniors, quote unquote. But I was hoping that, there might have been an opportunity perhaps to recognize, particularly the walking track. And I know there's something in there about $100 fee for a 6-month pass just for the walking track. $100 is still probably a bit of an impediment to some seniors in our community who are on incredibly fixed incomes. And so I don't know, maybe when we have I think coming up in soon, we're supposed to be talking about perhaps a senior strategy for the community. I hope we can have a conversation that maybe people who are over 80, they just get to use it, and we come up with some way to encourage seniors to stay active, particularly the walking track, I think will be very attractive. And on that same note, I noticed in the report that the idea of a cafe or some kind of concession thing hasn't really come to fruition. And I understand why your background report is very thorough. I really hope that we do explore the option of having the Plex canteen area a little more open and available, because I think that there's a great social opportunity for a lot of people in our community to come take a walk around the tracks, sit, have a cup of coffee, chat with neighbors, friends, and, maybe participate in something else that's going on here. So I really encourage that kind of conversation with who's ever the vendor at the Plex. I do have some other questions, but I'll wait till others ask theirs. Thank you.
Okay, further questions or comments? Councillor Grace and Halpin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Lisa, for the great report. I wanted to say I appreciate the detail that you put in and some outreach on the external financial assistance options, because I think that that's really important information for people to have. And, for instance, I'm really glad to see the Life Saving Society funding the Swim to Survive program, the 3 free sessions for students on survival skills. What a great thing, especially living where we live. But a couple of questions. I did ask you about the family rate, and we don't have that. So I wondered if you could explain that, because I looked at a couple of other comparable facilities and they had family rates. Why did you decide not to do a family rate?
Yes, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. We decided not to do an explicit family rate so that we could build flexibility into the different options for families. So there is such a variety of makeups for families these days, how they participate, and also a variety of programming that families are involved in. So by defining just one rate that was maybe, the standard family or maybe not a standard family of 2 adults and 2 children, we thought that by layering different discounts throughout the fee structure, we would create more flexibility for folks where they can mix and match whether they want to participate and just purchase, a 6-month membership for maybe 2 people in their family, and the other members of their family want to continue on a biweekly basis. That is really what our intent was in not identifying a specific family rate, but sort of creating like I said, kind of build your own adventure for people. And this is something that we absolutely can facilitate behind the scenes, although it does sound a little bit more complicated. From a background perspective, it is actually easier for us to administer.
Yeah, so it's interesting for me to hear that, because my first thought was, oh, it would be a lot easier just to have a, slam dunk family rate, and it would be less complicated for you. Is there any room in the report to put something like that in there for the public to see? Because I would imagine other people be coming to you saying, where's the family rate?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think that is something we could look to describe in more detail within the plan, or look to see if there are gaps where we haven't identified kind of the rationale behind it.
Along with that, I noted that for children, youth, students, and children, the only option appears to be all access passes. And they're not, it's not a law, especially if you get a discounted rate. But I wondered, because we have so many kids who are really just, I think, probably just involved in the aquatic element, is that something that, why didn't you put categories for children, youth or children in the aquatic access section?
Sure. Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor. We did think a lot about this as well. And the reason that we didn't identify a specific aquatic only rate or a specific fitness center or wellness rate as an example for those patron categories was because we thought that their best value, and by setting the rate intentionally lower, so $20 a month for kids 3 to 13, where they can access the pool, they can access any of the fun swims, any kind of drop-in activities that are happening in the pool, but also drop-in activities that'll be happening in the gymnasium. So right now we don't have that option because we don't have a gymnasium that we're programming. Whereas once we're in the Aquatic and Wellness Center, we expect there to be quite a number of drop-in programs that families can access that complement not only the aquatic side, but also the wellness side. It also helps us just manage where people are, how people are accessing the facility. So we thought one rate that encompasses the entire facility that is lower, rather than kind of subsequently putting lower rates for the fitness and aquatics, are the, I guess, wellness access and aquatics at the child level and then the youth and student level.
Thank you. My last question, I know you talked about cancellation and having to have a doctor's note or whatever. Is it possible, instead of just full out canceling, could somebody freeze their membership for, let's say they had to have surgery and rehab or something like that? Could they just freeze it for a period of time along with a medical excuse?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think that is something that we could look at. We would probably almost manage it as a credit back to their account so that at the time that they're ready to come back to the Aquatic and Wellness Center, they do have that credit sitting on their account that then they could use to apply to restart their membership back again. So we could look at what those options look like. So it's more of a refund, but it's a kind of a refund, but it's on their account. So it sort of invites them to come back as opposed to just canceling the relationship altogether, if you will.
Okay, so I have Halpin and then Stack.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Thank you for the report. I kind of like the way you divided the family options up because no two families are really the same anymore. And that I think that the way that you did it is really going to help, a single mom or a single dad with a kid. So, I personally like that. And I appreciate the amount of public consultation that went into coming up with these plans and your programming, and I believe that'll lead to success. And, we're certainly hoping that it does. We went for a tour through there today, and I'm just excited about it being opening, and I'm all on board with this. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Stack.
Sorry, I guess one more of a comment. So I find the fees and charges just a bit difficult to follow.
Mhm.
And I think that's, as usual, probably the user error. Is it possible when we get this all said and done to put something on the website that allows people to sort of say, yeah, this is my standing and this sort of, it'll show all the options?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And then maybe an actual follow-up question. Can you just, so if I was Family Plus and I wanted all access, can you just tell me what fee I would be paying?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So those are two separate, the Family Plus fee is really just connected to our drop-in rates. And then the all access, so if you were looking for kind of all access, you would pay all access for yourself. And then if you had 2 kids or however many children you were adding onto that, it would be discounted. So that's sort of how that is set up. But we can appreciate that the fees, one, we're presenting them in a slightly different way than kind of council has seen fees before by identifying the base rate. And then we also identified discounts, which would apply to the base rate. We were intentional in designing them that way so that we have an understanding as staff what the discounts are and why they were applied and how they apply. And then we can work everything back from our base rate. But I can appreciate from a public perspective that it looks very confusing. So it will be our goal to show easily what that membership rate looks like.
Okay, and sorry, that's great, thank you. And then the base rate, I'm assuming, is just if you had a single, like basically just if you had a single access pass every single day, is that sort of how it's built?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Mann.
I think, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I think that was sort of my question. I'm looking at this chart and realistically, nobody's going to pay the base rate for the year.
It would only, the people that would pay the base rates would be an individual who comes all by themselves and signs up for a monthly membership.
Okay, so that's 12 times the 1 month membership.
Yeah, or it'll run bi-weekly.
Okay.
But as soon as, if it was me as an example, and then I added my husband onto it, we would receive kind of the family discount, and then there would be a 20% discount that's applied to one membership, but you could consider it across both.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, but realistically, nobody's going to walk in the door and say, sign me up for a year. Here's my $800 and $900.
That's right. If they're coming in for 1 year, there is already a discount applied to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few questions, comments. The non-resident fee, we're going to need those revenues from Sawa Beach and Wyerton and Tiverton and Paisley and Tara. I hope we open our arms and open the doors to these non-residents who are coming and using our facility. And my question, so I hope they come and use it because this building's can take a lot of revenue to pay the bills. So I hope we really welcome our non-resident. But question I had about non-residents, so Lisa, will our local Saugeen Shores residents have first priority when it comes to programming, like swimming lessons, other programs? Will they have first priority, or can a non-resident register right off the hop early and get that first spot in that very hard to get lesson time? How's that going to work with non-residents?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your question. Right now, the intent is that the programming opens regardless of resident status. So whether you're a resident or a non-resident, we have one program opening, and anyone can register in at that point. We haven't experienced issues through our current registration where we're seeing outside, like folks that are non-residents are overfilling programs or creating wait lists for residents in programs. So it's not a current situation we're looking at.
Thank you for that. And in 2025, we're looking at about a $1 million operating deficit at the Wellness Center. 2026, 475,000. 2027, 127,000. And then I read in the report where 2031 is a 1% positive impact on the tax levy, which is about, Jim, I guess around $200,000 is 1% on the tax levy. Is that correct? 1%. So is that what we're saying in this report, Lisa, that by 2031, we will see a $200,000 operating surplus at the wellness center if all goes well, you know, with all our numbers, you know, becoming true. Well, is that what we're saying?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. That is the information, and that's taken from previous reports to council. It's included in the supporting documentation because it is not one of the items kind of for approval this evening, but that's tracking and trending based on the information we have provided to council.
Gotcha. Just go back to that base rate for a second because I don't quite understand it either. So I don't know how the members of although I'm not too quick with this kind of stuff sometimes, but how the members of the public are going to understand this. But page 5 of 6 in your staff report, when you talk about the base rate 840, 12 months fixed term membership, 25% discount, 630. Just explain that again. Like, why would someone not pay the 630? What do those two rates mean again? Explain that one more time.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So the base rate is the rate that we've identified in the fees and charges bylaw itself. So we haven't gone into kind of specify what the 12-month rate is with a 25% discount in the fees and charges or what the 6-month rate is. Instead, we've just identified a base rate that a discount can be applied to. And then the plan itself identifies what discount applies to what and informs that information. So in reality, if someone came in and wanted to purchase a 12-month fixed term membership, they would pay $630.
For 12 months.
For 12 months, yep. Or subsequently, it would be $70 a month or $32.31 biweekly.
Well, a person that came in wanted Councillor Stack asked the same question, but they wanted a full membership where they had the gymnasium, the walking track, the fitness facility, and the pool. What's that single fee they pay for all those services?
So if they would like to purchase for a one pass, like an annual pass, 12 months, and they are an active ager, the cost would be $630.
That's the 25% discount rate. Okay.
Yeah.
And for that 25% discount rate, the 630, would they be eligible for aquatics and like was it seniors fitness? What would they be eligible for?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The all access pass would include all drop-in programs in the aquatic center, the wellness center or fitness center, the gymnasium, and the indoor track. So aquafit, any land-based fitness classes, all of those.
So for that 630, they could drop into aquatics and take 12 months of the year, right?
That is correct.
Okay. The walking track, I'm pleased there's a fee there. I remember talking this at the meeting a year or so ago. I think we talked about a $150, $200 fee for the year. And so I'm pleased there's some kind of fee in there. And for people who can't afford to pay, then I would like to think that there could be a subsidy available. But the people who have the ability to pay, I think that's a good thing. And $100 for 6 months, what I'd like to propose, Mr. Mayor, I don't know how I do this, but Lisa, and I sent you an email on this. I would like to propose that it's $150 for the full year so that, you know, it's upselling a little bit, but it's also encouraging people to take out the full year membership.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how I do that tonight, but I'm thinking the $100 for 6 months. People say, oh, do you want to go again? It's another 100, that's 200, but do it for the full year to encourage people, you know, to be active, to be, so I would suggest that we $150 for the 12-month membership. I don't know how I do that. If it's just a friendly amendment to something, is it?
Well, why don't we take all the comments and questions from members up front here. I think the CAO has some comments she'd like to make. And then after that, we can consider whether we want to take amendments.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to comment, Kara, first, or?
We'll finish the comments and questions from members, then we can revisit.
So about just I'll because other members may have questions, and I have a few more. But in regards to to those who aren't financially, you know, able to take out membership, and there are members of our community that are not going to be able to afford these rates. So I'm really pleased to see you have a really good section in there on subsidies, Lisa. And I think that's really important that we don't turn anybody away, regardless of their ability or inability to pay, right? And so if you're more affluent, you have the money to do it, then you pay the membership. But if you don't have the funds to do it, let's make this an all-inclusive, welcoming facility for those who don't have access to the funds financially. My question is about the screening process. For those individuals that can't afford to take out a membership, we want them to come in and use the facility. Which staff member will look at, there's obviously a subsidy application form, a committee, a review committee. How's that going to work? Who's looking after that? And how does it work?
Yeah, thank you for your question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. We have talked about this, and maintaining the privacy and confidentiality of anyone who's accessing a financial assistance program is top priority for us and our team. We see that program being managed specifically through the supervisor of wellness and programs, Cody, and then also our customer service coordinator, which is a full-time position for the Aquatic and Wellness Center.
So it'll be just a committee of one or two
Yes, that's correct.
that will look at the applications, and there'll be a screen, like a process in terms of scoring, how it's come to the people who receive a subsidy. It's got to be some kind of a matrix of some kind, I guess you're going to be establishing.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, we are going to use the Bruce County has a low income cutoff that they use for their programs that they deliver. So our program would align with whatever the Bruce County low income cutoff is. And then there would be a proof of income required, as well as proof of residency or your address, so that we could, the Passes for Access program, which is kind of the specific subsidy program for providing access, does identify that it would be available to Saugeen Shores residents. And then with that, we have internally started to discuss what does that process look like, and what information are we holding? What information do we need to keep on file, or what information can we get rid of immediately, as a proof of income as an example?
My last question for now is about Saugeen First Nation, and I think it's wonderful. You have a section in there. You talk about welcoming our neighbors, friends, neighbors from Saugeen in to use a facility. Has transportation been discussed at all? Because transportation can be a bit of a deterrent, getting people to our facility. Have you met with Saugeen First Nation and talked about that in terms of transportation to our facility?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. We haven't discussed kind of specific details around transportation. We did talk about a van that they had on site while we were there during our visit, and them discussing what does that look like to may have the van operational and transport patrons, if that was something that they were interested in doing. So I think there's opportunity to continue discussions around that.
I just wanted to thank Lisa for the report as well. It was just really, really well laid out, and well done. And I also went on the tour today, and boy, the facility's coming along beautifully. So it's going to be a marvelous facility. So just a great report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dubinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Lisa, terrific report. Thank you for that. I'm looking at the aquatic access, and I guess I'm being personal here, since I do that right now. Michael keeps slapping me around, making sure I'm doing this correctly. It says active ager. Okay, that's me. And then it says 12-month fixed membership is $495. So I have purchased a membership for everything for the pool, but I'm only interested in the AquaFit Lite program, okay, which right now goes twice a week and is 45 minutes per session. That's a lot of money to pay for just that. You've given me an all or nothing at all here. Are we going to deal with that?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. Although you cannot see a rate on this particular chart that speaks specifically to the membership options, we do continue to have a 10-visit punch card that will be available. So for people who are only interested in coming to, the AquaFit Lite or Gentle Fit twice a week, that might be the option that works best for them. And it is based on our proposed per visit rate, which is, I think, $7.52 per visit. When you purchase it with a group of 10, there would be a 12% discount. So it works out to about $67, I believe.
Good. That's good to know. That was personal. I'm sorry, but others may ask that question. And Michael, you haven't lost me yet.
So we'll go back to unless there's somebody who hasn't spoken who wants to, we'll go to the deputy mayor then.
Thank you. I'm going to go off in a little different direction. The report included a lot of items that had to do with revenue sources, and there were comments, I think it was described as collaborative programming and community service agreements were mentioned in there. However, then when I looked at the chart, it was 1% of revenue seemed to be expected from registered external kinds of things. Are they the same thing?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that question. So we did, our early projections do have it's separate from revenue generated through CAMP as an example. So CAMP is its own sort of revenue source, which is a large registered program along with swimming lessons. We do have kind of the revenue targets for just regular dry land or land-based recreation programs set quite low, very conservative right now, but we do anticipate within, as we continue to program and understand the schedule, that those would be greater than 1% as an example for registered programs.
Well, and you can help me understand what it was saying in the report, because there was something in there about, I don't know if it was under collaborative programming or a community service agreement, about a league situation where there was a rental, but then that league charged their fees. So would those people potentially still have to have a membership to be in the facility, or would their fees to be in whatever league it was, if it was basketball, because there'll be 3 courts there, or pickleball or whatever, is the intention that everybody in the building using the building will have some kind of fee that's associated directly with Saugeen Shores? Or is that what that's referring to, that there will be some groups that, they are renting the facility and then they're charging their fees, so that fee potentially could not be the same as what a membership would cost to use that facility? Am I reading that correctly?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think if I'm understanding, so we would have a couple of options. We would not require, if a group was renting the space, our proposed plan doesn't require the individuals that are also coming to that rental. So we'll use volleyball as an example. Let's say the social athletics has rented gymnasium space. They would pay us the municipality a rental fee, but there wouldn't be necessarily an expectation that all of the members that were coming to use the facility for that rental had an active past membership, as an example. So I think there'll be a variety of ways that people may access the facility, rentals being separate from like program revenue. But there are also opportunities where we may partner with a third party where we do a revenue share, in which case people may or may not hold a membership depending on the type of program. An example of that type of programming might be like a cooking course or a cooking program of some kind.
Okay. It was concerning to me to see that there was an expectation of 1% revenue, and it was described as being from registered includes leagues. 1% in the big revenue picture doesn't seem very much, because I anticipate, and again, 5 of us were in there this afternoon, and the court space, the gymnasium space, it's an incredibly big floor area. So, you could see pickleball happening there with a number of games at the same time. You could see 3 basketball games potentially with the curtains up. You could see a couple of volleyball games. So I don't know if the intention is for the town to organize a league or somebody else to organize a league, but it was just 1% of revenue from that kind of activity seemed low, when I think that that's the potential for that space, is to have some league action in there to get people regularly using those facilities. I'll just leave it at that. But I wanted to also ask about there's mention in the report about doing, I don't know if it was annually or at an interval, some sort of a market survey of what else is going on in the community, because there's reference in here to arts programming and dance programming. And, you know, when we first talked about this, there was concern that, you know, we would be undercutting local fitness facilities in particular. But, you know, there's dance included here. There are dance studios in Saugeen Shores. There's art stuff mentioned. There are art programs here. So how often will that sort of survey of the area be happening? I'm assuming it might be annually, because we want our facility to be successful, but not at the expense of local entrepreneurial businesses that are well established. So I want the pricing to be fair, but taxpayers are contributing an incredible amount toward this facility. That shouldn't mean that that's an advantage that those other businesses don't have. So how often do you intend to kind of do that kind of look-see to maybe make sure that it's a reality check on what we're doing?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. That's a great question. And we certainly do not want to undercut folks who are already delivering those types of programming, arts and dance and all of those other things. I think our intent would be to look for opportunities where there's maybe a gap in service. There's something that's not being filled that may still be related to one of those areas, but we could help support that. And I think through our program planning, we will have sort of 4 traditional program sessions each year. So I would imagine that probably at least twice a year, we're doing a general survey of what's happening in our community and understanding what other programs are available. Because really, we just want to elevate everything that's happening in the community.
And there's potential for collaborative activity with those
That's right.
community places too. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there further questions or comments? I might just make a couple of comments and I'll turn to the CAO who has a couple of comments she wants to make. I think, yeah, I have questions about this and you know, some things I wonder if they'll work or not. I wonder, because there's a lot of, it seems to me there's a lot of a la carte options, and I worry a little bit about there being too much a la carte, because really your ability to pay for this thing comes from membership sales, right? And if you offer too much a la carte, then you run the risk of jeopardizing your membership sales, which is your primary source of cash, right? So, so I wonder about that. But I think, I guess when I step back and look at it, I think, you know, the best thing to do, I think, I mean, you guys have done a lot of work on this. You've thought about all the angles, tried to consider all that, what will work and what won't work, looked at other models. You know, to my mind, I'd like to see us try this as it is. You know, you've put it together. Let's see if it works, right? It's going to open here in the fall. Let's let it play out for a year and see what happens. If the revenue streams are good and it's paying, and because the way I've always looked at this, and we've had this discussion before, is, you know, sort of staff is given us the recommendations on, you know, you've shown us the chart in terms of how this pays back. I think the Vice Deputy Mayor raised it, right? It's supposed to be revenue neutral or a little positive to the municipality by the early 2030s. You've put that plan together. You have confidence in it. And now you're bringing us this report saying with the details about how you're going to execute that. And so, you know, I'd like us to, from my perspective, at least what I will support is, you know, this is what you think will work. Let's do it. And let's see if it works, you know, I hope, you know, and put our confidence in your work. And, you know, if you believe that this is what we need to do to meet those targets that you've set out, then let's give that a try. And I'm, you know, absolutely hopeful that it will be successful. So I support it as written, and I'd like us to implement it as written. That's my perspective. And I'll turn it over to the CAO, who had a couple of comments, and then we'll go back and see if anybody wants to make any amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just building a little bit on what you said and what Lisa sort of introduced the report. And I want to thank council for the thoughtful comments and suggestions tonight. Asked similar questions while Lisa and the team were putting this together. This has been well thought out and beat around within our management team. And I just wanted to draw council's attention. It doesn't look like much. It's on page 6. And this is really, when we think about implementing the fees and charges, much to what the mayor said, this is the plan that aligns with what we gave you as an overall operational strategy for the facility, which would have us be in a revenue positive situation by 2031. But we have to see how it works. And so what we talked about was how are we going to keep you guys informed on how that's rolling out? And so that little table in there notes that will be coming to you quarterly with updates on how this is working. And then that Q2 2027, I think, is really a pivotal time because we'll have 1 year of full operation under our belts, and we'll really be able to take a look at that operations versus plan and have a conversation around this table about where we maybe want to see fees changed, or we want to see different residents versus non-resident pieces maybe dealt with. Specifically on the non-resident versus resident, I wondered if the deputy mayor, and I think the vice deputy mayor raised it as well, one of the things we could offer to do, because we haven't really done a pile of research on that right now, would be to take that away maybe as a division highlight that we could look at through the 2026 year as we roll this out, and we could bring back a report specific to that could lead into that 2027 sort of deliberation around it, and maybe something council wants to consider at that time. But again, that kind of goes to that piece that I'm suggesting, which is let's get a year under our belt and see how things are working, and that'll give us a really good set of data that then look at where we want to maybe make some changes. So again, this is the plan in front of you tonight that aligns with that overall operational strategy, has us revenue neutral. If we were to consider changes, I just want to caution that there may be impact to that as well that we would need to talk about. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Just on the idea of people from other municipalities, like, are we worried that if we do that other municipalities may do the same for us? Like, I go play hockey in Paisley, well, 3 times a week. They're going to say, oh, is there going to be a surcharge for people from Saugeen Shores? So I think that's a dangerous slope to go down, and we want to bring people in. And when people come here to go swimming, I'll use the example of, like, when I was in council in Chesley, and Hanover built an indoor pool. Hanover built an indoor pool. They had the same talk about that, but everyone got the same price. But you know what parents did is they went to the indoor pool in Hanover and they did their grocery shopping, and they went out to eat in restaurants and everything like that. So I think having people from other municipalities is a real advantage, and I don't think we should do anything, in my opinion, to deter that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, further, so we can now, we've talked about all the issues. If anybody wants to propose amendments to this at this point, now's the time, so we can consider those, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, before I did that, I just wanted to, if I could ask at least one last question.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
It was just about the 2006 revenue of 2.1 million to go to 2027, 2.6 million. Lisa, I think there was a report a year or two ago, perhaps, what that number means in terms of total overall memberships, like individual memberships. I think we talked about family way back. We're not doing that individual, but like Owen Sound Family Y, for example, at the peak at 5,300 members. So can we, at some point in time, we will know how many, quote, members we have? And do we know in that $2.1 million in revenue in 2026? Could you provide that sometime for us, just what that means in terms of how many members that means? Is it 2,500, 3,000, 3,500? Is that something you could provide council with?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. We can definitely work out what those specific numbers are. They do get a little tricky because there's so many variables with how people are going to participate. So a lot of it is kind of forecasting. Right now, our numbers, just high level in general, are based on about 1,800 to 2,000 adult and active agers, and about 400 to 500 child and youth members.
That's what I was looking for. I seem to think I remember somewhere around 2,500 total way back. But this is just a small item. But the walking track, fee for $100. To give people that you've got some discounts in here, but just encourage people to take out a full year membership. I was proposing $150. in that, some people don't, renew every 6 months. Give them the opportunity to take out the membership for the full year. This is a very small item. I don't want to spend a lot of time discussing it, but it's just a
So the Vice Deputy Mayor moves that we add a 12-month fee for the walking track set at $150. Is there a seconder for the resolution? Councillor Dubinsky, any discussion on the resolution?
Mr. Mayor, and I was suggesting the $100 for 6 month stays, just so we have a second rate for 150.
Yeah, understood. You're asking to add a second rate. I think everyone's clear, yes? Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll just note my view, and I certainly don't, I'm not worked up over it one way or the other, but I would like to implement it the way that staff proposed it. So for that reason, and only that reason, I'll vote against the amendment. So if there's nothing else, I'll ask all in favor. Opposed? Can you just give me your hands for those opposed? Sorry. That's defeated. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
I agree with you about perhaps dealing with it as it is to see how it works. But I do hope that, I'd like to see people over 80 have free access to the track. Because particularly during the winter, but I'll maybe hold that till we get it open. And we are supposed to have a senior strategy or a senior discussion coming up soon. So because those people are people that if we can get them out of their apartments, out of their houses into a social setting, that's just good for, it's an aquatics and wellness center. That's the wellness part of it all. And, and again, I just think that would be good for that age level up. Thank you. But I'm not going to make an amendment right now.
Okay. Any other discussion before we consider the main question? If not, I think it's been moved and seconded. Am I right? Okay. So, yeah, so then all in favor? That's carried. I considered them together. I guess there's no objection to that. No. Okay. Sorry, I forgot until I did it. I guess I am. So we're on to the consent agenda, and there are how many items on the consent agenda? There's 4 items on the consent agenda. Anybody want to vote on any of them on their own? I don't see any requests for that. So the resolution is that items 10.1 through 10.4 be approved and received for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Councillor Mayette and Councillor Duhaime. I'll just roll through them quickly. Any questions or comments on 10.1? The Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Halpin.
I just wanted to recognize Councillor Grace and the Vice Deputy Mayor and Councillor Halpin is now an alternate. The Heritage Committee is cooking with gas. Boy, those minutes that are there, there's a lot of stuff going on and they have some stuff coming up and wow. So I know there's wow on one of the other items on the consent agenda, but I just want to recognize Councillor Grace's leadership and the involvement of the other council members and every member of that committee. Once again, you're bringing heritage out into the community, and that's good because we tried to do that a number of years ago, and then COVID kind of happened, and so it's so refreshing to see. So it's just recognition, cool work from the Heritage Committee.
Thanks. Can we just take them top to bottom here, just so we can do this in kind of an orderly way of this question? So, there's a question on 10.1. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I'm really glad to see the 5-year lease for the Marine Heritage Society, and the 5-year lease represents that we recognize the good work by the hundreds of volunteers in the Marine Heritage Society, and our community would not be the same without the Marine Heritage Society.
Thank you. Anything else on 10.1? I just agree with those comments. I'm pleased to see a renewal for the Marine Heritage Society, and we're eager to see the society's work going forward in partnership with the town. I said a couple of meetings ago, they're one of our most valued partners, and so seeing this agreement and together, and also the recognition of the work that we're going to do together to sort of tighten our relationship and clean it up and make sure that it's really in a great place to renew 5 years after that and for the next 50 and 100 years. That's what we want to see, and we want to do it right. So anyway, it's a great agreement. 10.2 then, the Southampton Cenotaph donation pledge update. Any questions on that one? Councillor Halpin.
Yes, Mayor, through you. The Legion has made a pledge that they're withdrawing, so there is no refund. Would that not be correct?
I'm seeing nods that that is correct. Yes.
Okay. And as far as making a policy about that, how often does it really happen that people make a donation and ask for a refund? You know, and then I'll just add a second part to that. Could our policy just be that there's no refunds for donations? Like if you donate money, you donate money?
I'm sure that could be our policy, but the director will speak to us about it. The director.
Thank you for the question. In regard to Hoffman, this happens. I've been here 3 years and this is the first that it has happened. It's a bit of a special circumstance, just because there was a bit of a change from what was presented earlier on and then some disagreements in the community in terms of which direction it should go in. I mean, the way we're handling it is that we're encouraging people to just redirect their donation to a different cause and then making them aware if they do want a refund, we would make them aware of their tax obligations because that's on them to refile their tax returns.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further comment, Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on that point, I think that in this case, you're doing exactly the right thing, and I really appreciate all the work that staff is putting into figuring out how to do this. Thanks.
Councillor Maya.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. I agree. And if I'd just like to add one more thing. If there's a refund policy, there should be a handling fee associated with issuing checks and receiving, and because there's work involved, right? I know typical 15% is what is industry standard for through fitting money through an organization. So I want to keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, the deputy mayor.
And my apologies that, communication and consent, I saw them as the same thing, and that Heritage Committee thing is number one under the communication thing, but definitely this one. I think part of the report also talking about a policy, I think it's important that there be a clear decision made that there's something that donations can go to, because that was part of this too, that, it was ahead of a budget process. It was ahead of a project actually being defined completely. And so I think that that's kind of embedded in this too, that when there's the potential for donations, there's something, it's in here about roles and responsibilities, and that sort of thing, that there be a very clear idea about where funds are going, so that the ability to later say, oh, well, no, I want a refund because that's not what you're doing. Well, we council or whoever made the decision to do something, and that's actually what's going to happen. I think in this case, we were a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of accepting money for something that wasn't for sure yet in terms of a design or anything. But I appreciate it is the right thing to do, as Councillor Grace said. And I do hope that a number of people, when given the option to redirect their funds, we got lots of playgrounds and other opportunities that I hope some people will be generous and just say, oh yeah, put it over in that direction. And plus there is still a project at the Cenotaph. So, some people might, upon hearing about what's going on there, might still feel good about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think on this one, is it a difficult situation? Yes. Did we move quickly? Yes, we did that because we had the Legion, at least what we thought was the Legion, come to us and ask us to be partners. I think I'm sort of more of the mind that if we have to put a little on the line and take a little risk to support trusted or important groups in the community and run the risk of having errors made or run the risk of maybe things not working out, I'd rather do that. I'd rather be supportive of the Legion and try and with them in trying to achieve their success. And if things don't go right, then we have policies and things where we correct them. We're certainly raising more money now as a town than ever in the history in my time here, right? We've raised millions in the last few years. So it's good to have a policy like this. We need a policy like this because we're now sort of pretty heavily in the fundraising business and probably will continue to be. But I think yeah, is it, and it's like I say, it's an unfortunate situation, but I'm honestly, I don't really, when I think back and look at the decision-making council made around it every time, I don't really regret what we did there. I think we tried to support a community group that came to us to do something exciting in our community. Didn't quite work out. Now we're going to clean that up and straighten it up. But I think council should always try to support its community groups and maybe, you know, be with them rather than fearful of getting into those agreements. I think that's in my view, where a council ought to sit. So anyway, my thoughts. Further questions or comments on this one? If not, then 10.3 is the future infrastructure special levy communications report. And any questions on that one? The Deputy Mayor.
I really appreciated, thank you, through you, seeing the insert that would go in taxes. I still personally found it a little bit hard to understand. Just, you know, graphics are good. You know, this is good, that's good. I don't think most people understand when you say, you know, $49 on the average tax bill, what that means, because, you know, they don't know if they're average or below average or above average. But also, you know, it's good that it's going to be in there, but I still found it a little bit hard to understand what it was actually going to cost me over that period of time. So maybe just even the simple insert of what that average assessment is that you're talking about, instead of just saying average, because I think it's 300 and some $1,000. Because then people, when they look at their tax bill, they would see whether they're above or below that or right on it. Because again, most people don't know how they fit into the bigger scheme, but I think it'll be great that it's there. So thank you very much for showing us that.
Any further questions on that item? If not, then 10.4 is the last one. 8 items of communication there. Anybody have anything on any of those? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. 10.4.2, Bruce County. I read that with quite a bit of interest because I was concerned earlier and mentioned something about supporting, you know, another municipality's comments on this, and you said, oh, we should wait till we get the county report. So this is the county report. Now, I would like to support that. Could we do that?
You sure can. So the councillor moves support of the Bruce County comments on Bill 17. Is there a seconder on that resolution? Second by Councillor Grace. Any discussion? Seeing, oh, Councillor Grace.
Thank you. Well, can I meld it into the next item, which is the Watson and Associates report? It's just.
We could do both if you want. We could do this one and then do that one.
I kind of wondered if the Watson report was related to the Bruce County thing or just submitted separately. Anyway, I think that the public needs we need to support any kind of comment to the government pointing out the unintended consequences. Hopefully they're unintended. But for instance, you know, one of the things that the Watson report talks about is the administrative costs for municipalities. For example, I think, if I understand it correctly, a requirement for DC payments to be made in installments for a 5-year term for rental housing and institutional development, and that's got to be at a separate computation and tracking for staff from normal DC payments. That's just one example of the administrative complications that are being piled onto municipalities. And I just don't know. I don't understand the provincial leaders who dreamed this up and think this is a good idea. And that report and the Bruce County also points out the costs to municipalities, being dumped on municipalities to make up for what's being taken away from us in terms of revenues. So that's my comment on that. I do want to go back to the the municipal heritage thing eventually, but not right now.
Sure. Well, we'll consider the resolutions on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Did you have further comments on it, or? Yeah, go ahead. Councillor Halpin.
Computer off instead of turning this. That's okay. Are we voting on both of these then, the Watson and the?
We'll just handle them separately. We can
Okay.
just do two resolutions. It's just cleaner if we
Sure.
do them
Yeah,
one at a
of course.
time. So you've moved and seconded the one on item number 2. I'll just make the comment that I made when we considered this at Bruce County, which is that the key thing I would like to get is some understanding from the province of what their end state that they're trying to aim at is, because they've got now Bill 5, Bill 17, I think Bill 30, am I right? There's 3 now, each of which is making significant changes to the municipality, plus the strong mayors that change. There's been there's been 4 big pieces of legislation in the last month that are sort of doing these incremental changes. And that's on top of what they've done in the last 4 or 5 years, right? So it's just what the province needs to tell municipalities is where they want municipalities to end up. You know, they're in charge. They can put municipalities wherever they want them. It would be nice for them to just tell us where that is and get us there, or at least tell us how to get it, because this is all very disruptive. And it just is, Bruce County's trying to do its official plan right now, has been since Kara was the director 100 years ago. And I was there too, so I was there too. But it's just been going on and on and on and on. And we can't, it's like impossible, it feels impossible to finish because the goalposts keep moving and moving and moving and moving. So very hard to run the municipality, any municipality under those circumstances. So that's my plea, really. I mean, I agree with all the comments in all of this and the comments Councillor Grace made and others, but in the end, just tell us where we're going, for heaven's sakes. Anyway, I certainly support the resolution, and it's been moved and seconded, so I'll ask all in favor. That's carried, and Councillor Grace moves support of item 3, Watson and Associates Bill 17, comments for regulatory registry. Is there a seconder for the councillor's motion? Councillor Halpin, discussion on that one. The Deputy Mayor.
I was, the Watson one, it's a very, very serious read. I was wanting us to get some very high level, because it's time, I realize, but it's got a number of different paths with, when things get paid, how you can defer them, to occupancy or to this or what. I wanted to get a comment from staff about what that really means for us here. So I'm in support of their report, but it was hard to understand how it relates here, because every now and again they throw in really big city stuff, and we don't have that kind of activity here. But it's concerning because it's a lot of different paths, which, as Councillor Grace already said, it's setting up that there's a whole bunch of administrative procedures, and just you got to pay attention here and here and here, and there's bills or invoices out at different times. It's kind of ridiculous, but it was hard to understand what that would really mean for us here. So I will support supporting it, but at some point, and I think we have a DC review coming up. There's some good stuff in here to understand what it means for us. Maybe that's the place for it.
I think that on all of these things, because there's a few bills floating out there, staff will synthesize this as they're able and then report back to us on the changes as they can and as they become pertinent to us. So I think you can expect to hear from staff on how we're implementing these items as they become law. But it's a lot to synthesize. I mean, staff, certainly Bruce County Planning staff, is challenged to understand it and is trying to wrap their minds around it. And so when they're ready, they'll come to us, I'm certain. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All in favor of that? That's carried. All right, and there were some other comments folks wanted to make on other items. I think Councillor Grace, yes, Councillor Grace on the Municipal Heritage Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention a couple of things events that the Municipal Heritage Committee is going to be involved in. And one is on July 13th. our committee decided to do what we hope will be the first in a series of Jane's walks. And these walks are honoring the legacy of Jane Jacobs, who was a very famous first American and then moved to Toronto and spent, I don't know, the last 3 decades of her life there. But she was an urban visionary but believed in the strength of small neighborhoods. And so we're doing a Jane's Walk sponsored by the committee. Will be free for anybody who wants to join us. On July 13th is a Sunday at 2 p.m. We have a rain date of the 20th. Sheila Latham, who was the 2024 Heritage Award recipient, is going to be leading it, and she has uncovered some really interesting little snippets of information, heritage information that I had. For instance, Sir Sanford Fleming owned property on Miramichi Bay back in the late 1840s. Who knew? Anyway, I guess who cares? Invented the time zones.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Holy smokes.
I hope people will join us for that. I want to thank Laura Mosconi for doing a real bang-up job of getting communications out on that, social media posts, designing posters, very, very efficiently and really beautifully designed. And then also the Marine Heritage or the Marine Heritage Festival with their wonderful day in the park as part of their festival. The Municipal Heritage Society or the committee will have a table there. This is a tradition that Deputy Mayor started a number of years ago, and we're going to put that together again this year. And so those are 2 good things to look for.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Grace didn't mention where the walk starts from.
It starts at the flag and goes south along the boardwalk and then to Morpeth and up to Grosvenor and back over to High, and then ends at Chantry Breezes for some refreshments. Hosts Jenny and Don Amy are graciously opening up their lawn and front porch to welcome the group.
Okay, anything else on any of the other correspondence? Seeing nothing, then we'll move on to item 11, motions, notices of motion. This is a mayor. Oh, I didn't vote on the whole thing. Sorry, it was moved and seconded on the entire consent agenda. So I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. All right, so now we're on to 11, notices of motion, and this is a mayoral direction here for your review and comment. If you have any with respect to the 2026-2034 business plan and budget, any concerns or comments with this? Seeing none, then I will sign that direction following the meeting. All right, so then we're on to item 14, bylaws, and there are 4 bylaws there for your consideration. Anybody wish to consider any of the bylaws on its own? Seeing no request, I will read the resolution that bylaws 65, 2025, 66, 2025, 67, 2025, and 68, 2025 are hereby read, passed, and sealed this 23rd day of June, 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Duhaime, seconded by Halpin. No questions or comments, and all in favor? Is carried. And then the confirmatory bylaw, the bylaw 67-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read, passed, and sealed this 23rd day of June, 2025. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Halpin, seconded by Stack. All in favor? That is carried. And finally, a resolution of this regular council meeting of June 23rd, 2025, hereby adjourns at 8:49 p.m. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Duhaime. All in favor? Council stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.